Joining me now is the founder of the Black Police Experience, Sonia Pruitt. She's a retired captain with the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department and the former chair of the National Black Police Association. Also with me is former federal prosecutor Paul Butler. He's a professor at Georgetown School of Law and an NBC News legal analyst. He's the author of the book Chokehold, Policing Black Men. Good morning to both of you. Sonia, let me start, please, with what has happened in Chicago. There are people calling for I don't know how police have to think about this, a balance between the fact that they got a phone call in the middle of the night about shots fired. Most people would probably agree that you need to call police about that, so they call 911. These police get dispatched. There do appear to be a gun or guns in the area, but that video is hard to parse, but in the end, it does seem like a man who had his hands up was shot. Now, as Rahima Ellis was saying, police are saying that all happened in a fraction of a second. He shed a gun and he put his hands up and he got shot. His mother was saying, why did you have to shoot to kill? Why do you have to shoot in his chest? Talk to me about how realistic it is that that could have unfolded differently.
Good morning to everyone. It is very realistic that that could have been handled quite differently. So here's what I want to make a point about. I want to highlight this argument that you hear about Black people in particular not complying. So if then you give an order as a police officer and you expect compliance, then you can't shoot and kill the person when they comply. This reminds me of the Philando Castile case, another a very tragic situation where a Black man was trying to comply with the orders of the officer and he was shot and killed. This is the same thing, and it's a 13-year-old. I don't even know if training could help in this situation. But as the police, if you're going to give someone an order, you also need to give them an opportunity to follow that order. And the young man followed the order, and he was still killed. I cannot. I just, it's giving me nightmares as the mother of two young men.
Yeah. Obviously, Paul, that situation, the situation that we saw in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, where this 26-year veteran of the police force announced and said she's going to use her taser and yet pulled her service pistol and shot DAUNTE Wright, and the case of Derek Chauvin. They're all different because you can establish different levels of culpability, of intent, of a reasonable expectation of what would have gone down. Yet to a lot of people, they're the same. Black men are dead at the hands of police.
Yes, and Black men who at the moment they are killed don't appear to be posing any threat. Now, you did some of the best reporting last summer from Minneapolis, and I'm sure you heard about George Floyd. If he had complied, if he had just gotten into that car, he would be alive today. But as the officer tells us, this young man in Chicago complied. The cop told him, put up your hands. He put up his hands, and that officer shot him dead.
It's remarkable, Sonia Pruitt. Paul is right. We have heard this constant complaint. We knew it for decades before, people talking about how Black men or Black people die at the hands of police. You and I have wondered whether this trial, for all the stuff that's happened this week, this trial is still going on. It is going to the jury this week. We may have a verdict as early as this week. I have no idea how long that jury will deliberate for. Does that change policing in any way? Does this bearing of witness, the hearing of that testimony that proved that George Floyd did not have to die at the hands of police and Derek Chauvin didn't have to do what he did, do you believe that some change may come of all of this attention and coverage and whatever the outcome may be?
You know, Ali, I am an eternal optimist. I see opportunity all the time. I'm a little bit afraid of what the verdict might be, but I am going to put my hope in the fact that the jury sees what everybody else in the world sees, that this man was murdered. George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin. With that being said, there are many places in police history where we had to take a look at how our police are serving the people. for instance, Rodney King, and then we had to look at use of force. The death of Michael Brown, we had to look at the use of body cameras. And here we are again at another choice point. I think that this is going to drive police reform, and I think that we need to put our foot on the gas pedal of police reform and not let up until the people get what they want, because that's who the police work for. So this trial is really, really important. The verdict is going to be really crucial in how we move forward.
Paul, quick answer from you, because I heard you say earlier on MSNBC that no case against a police officer is a slam dunk. You followed the whole trial. Is there, in your mind, any chance that Derek Chauvin gets acquitted?
There's always a chance, because all it takes is one juror who has reasonable doubt. That would mean a hung jury. The government would have the option of re-bringing the case, but it takes for a conviction or an acquittal a unanimous jury. The defense theory was that Officer Chauvin literally did not kill George Floyd, so they suggested that maybe it was a drug overdose, maybe it was COVID-19, maybe it was carbon dioxide poisoning, maybe it was a heart and lung condition. They don't have to prove any of those, Ali. All they have to do is create doubt, poke holes in the prosecution's theory. But I have to say, I've never seen such overwhelming evidence in a prosecution of a police officer. You do have to wonder, if there's not a conviction in this case, when could there ever be a conviction?
Yeah, that is definitely the feeling on the streets of Minneapolis right now. Thanks to both of you. Sonia Pruitt is a retired captain with the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department. She's the founder of the Black Police Experience. Paul Butler is a former federal prosecutor and an MSNBC legal analyst. Thanks to both of you this morning.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.